Hey, you're listening to the punk rock demonstration with me, Jack, and you can check out the website at punkrockdemo.com. And we're here today at the Viper Room with Leiana. Hello, Leiana.
Hey!
So are you the vocalist in Leiana?
Yes.
And how did you get into the vocal position?
Well, it's my band, and I wanted to sing in it, so I became the vocalist.
So why did you choose your own name, Leiana, to be in the band, or to be the band name?
You know, actually, I'm not really exactly sure. I think the project is with this guy, Chuck Treese, and Chuck and I just really thought a band name would be kind of lame for it, so we just thought to use my name.
So you figured, let's just use my name instead of some random phrase out there or something?
Yeah, well, and it kind of made more sense since it was, music from me, basically. And it was kind of unusual. It's not like a name like John or anything. It's kind of unusual. So hopefully people would remember it.
So how did you come up with that logo that you have with the L and the wings, or what is it?
Oh, yeah, it's just an L and a wings. And actually, I have nothing to do with that whatsoever. That was a firm in Massachusetts called Alphabet Arm Design. I met them at South by Southwest a couple years ago. The guy, Aaron, and he just kind of hooked me up with a couple logos. So they came up with them.
So you figure you just pick out a logo instead of like designing your own?
Yeah, exactly. Kind of left it to the pros.
That's kind of cool. So how did you meet Chuck Treese, and how did he become in the band?
Actually, I met Chuck through a mutual friend. And I was looking for a band, and I was auditioning, and I couldn't really find anything. And a friend of mine who at the time was Chubby Checker's tour manager said, I know this guy. He may be able to help you. Let me give you his number. And so I called him, and the guy was Chuck. And I talked to him on the phone for a little bit, and I said, I just want to write a couple songs, and I want to do kind of like a punk rock thing, but with a little bit of edge. And I told him like the bands that I was into, and he was totally down with it. And so that's how it started. And then we just started getting together and writing music.
When did the band start?
I think it was about 2-3 years ago. I mean, when we first started, we only did it like once or twice a week. It wasn't, like too much of a commitment thing. It was, it was just a couple songs. But then once we started going, Chuck stayed on to produce it and to play all the instruments. And then the EP that we were writing turned into an album. So it just kind of got bigger and bigger as it went on.
And are you releasing these under your own label?
Yeah. I have a label. It's called Page Records. It's after my dog. He was this 70-pound big pit bull who was just like a lovey-dovey guy. He died. But anyway, so that's what Page Records is for. And Page, I named an album after him and, song and all that. But yeah, that's the record label. And so I have my second album will be coming out on that label. And actually some McRad stuff which is Chuck's other band, is going to be coming out on that too.
So does Chuck play McRad and Leiana?
Yeah, actually, McRad is like his band. He doesn't really play with me live as much anymore. He used to. But then he got other gigs. Like right now he's on the road with G Love as G's like second drummer. So he gets a lot of, if he gets a bigger gig like that, or, some kind of gig like that, he'll go and tour and, make some more cash that way. But I use him here and there when I need him. But basically we try to keep, because he writes the music for my stuff and I write the lyrics. So we try to keep, he wanted me to kind of, it was like a baby, I'm like his baby kind of project, and he wants me to grow up and kind of do stuff on my own, and he intervenes when he has to, but that's kind of where we are right now. I'll use him sometimes, but I don't need to have him as a band member.
Do you have a steady lineup of your band?
Yeah, at this point I do. I have Brandon on drums and this guy Louie on drums, and they're both from that Paul Green School of Rock. They did, they did that movie about them and all. They're actually both in that movie. So they're both from there. And then this guy Dave Woodman is on bass, and Dave played with Chuck and a band called Black Beans like a long time ago. But Dave has been playing for a really long time and has known Chuck for a really long time and is kind of like, a veteran. So what happens is that if someone can't make a show or whatever happens, since Chuck plays all the instruments, I'll have him fill in. Like, for example, at the end of the month, we play New York, and Louis can't make it because he has a family function, so Chuck will play guitar that night. So it's kind of weird. But so yeah, there is a kind of permanent lineup.
And when did that become established?
Probably like 6 months ago. I think when Chuck first started going on the road with G-Love for a long period of time, it became evident that in order for me to keep playing, I had to get a band. I couldn't really rely on him. So,
with your record label Page Records, have you signed any bands yet to the label, or do you just produce your own records on that label?
No, I haven't signed any bands yet. The only thing that is going on with that is releasing McRad stuff, like my stuff and then Chuck's stuff, McRad stuff on it.
So for people that are looking to get signed, they shouldn't be contacting Page Records yet?
I'm always open for everything, but yeah, it's kind of more of a vehicle for my own personal use at this point.
That's pretty cool. So talking about your CD, you have a song called Page. Can you explain a little bit about why you chose Page to be the first song on there?
Actually, I had nothing to do with that. Chuck chooses the order. He listens to all the songs, and he figures out he's really into flow and really into sounds, and so he figures out where songs should be on a album order. So I think we wanted something, because the way Page starts, we actually start the set live with Page, and just the way it starts with three loud chords, it kind of like is the beginning of something. So that's probably why he chose it.
Which ones do you like the most?
Of a Page, I like Lie a lot. That's one of my favorites. And I like Creep, too. I mean, I like all of them, but Lie has always been my favorite. So, actually, starting out, Surfy Punky was one of my favorites. It was one of the first ones we wrote. But, but Lie and Creep are basically my favorite ones.
So, can you explain a little bit about some of these songs, like how you came up with them and why some of them were instrumentals, stuff like that?
Well, basically, some are from the original. Before we released this album, we released an EP, and some of them, there's like 4 from the original EP, and those were the first songs that Chuck and I wrote. And I had very specific things that I wanted to write about when we got together, and he would just kind of go over like music ideas, and then together we'd choose one, or he would choose one that would kind of fit the lyrics that I'd given him. And actually, the lyrics weren't really lyrics. They were just kind of like poems that I'd written, like, over the past, 10 years before we met. And then we would kind of, with Chuck's help, we would put them into, like, a lyrical form. So there's songs like, there's songs like Miss You, which is one of the first ones that we wrote. And that was written for my brother. When I was 12, my 17-year-old brother died in a car accident. It was very sudden, and I was very close to him. So that song I wrote for him. And All Over was written about just some kind of personal experiences I had as a kid growing up, being sexually abused, to be honest. So that was, like I said, when I went to Chuck, there were certain things I wanted to communicate that I felt like, songs should be about, and those are 2 of them. I knew I wanted to write a song for my brother, and I knew I wanted to kind of write a song to, kind of help people who may have been in a similar situation as me. And the instrumentals were just like jams that actually Chuck wrote, or the piano jam. Actually, the engineer that we used, who became a good friend of ours, Dan, just came up with that on the piano one night while we were recording. So those are kind of like random things that just happened.
That's pretty cool. Let's take a listen to some of these songs. Which one do you want to start off with first?
I don't know. Do you have one in mind?
Well, my favorite one is Follow Blind. So,
oh, cool.
So let's start off with that one.
Oh, right on.
Okay. We'll be back in a second. This is Follow Blind by Leiana.
But I still follow. different world. Who am I? Change it, change it. He wanted more. Change it, change it. He wanted change it, change it. He wanted more.
Hey, welcome back. You just heard Surfy Punky, and then before that one we had Creep, and we started off with Follow Blind by Leiana, and we're still here with Leiana at the Viper Room in Hollywood, and you're listening to the punk rock demonstration with me, Jack, and you can check out the website at punkrockdemo.com, and you can send me questions, comments, requests, and all that good stuff at punkrockdemo@yahoo.com. How did you get involved with punk rock?
When I lived in San Clemente and I was a kid, I had a friend who had an older brother who was into punk rock stuff. Like he had like a Rock and Roll Swindle poster on his wall and Christine F. poster and, you know, that David Bowie stuff. And I was always into music. I was really into Blondie as like a little kid just because I saw like the album cover and I wanted it. So, you know, I would save up my money and buy it. But through my friend, I really got into, like, you know, it was like the early 80s then, so it was like new wave stuff. So, you know, Adam and the Ants and all that kind of stuff. And Bow Wow Wow, Devo. And then I really, really got into it, you know, as I got a little bit older, like, you know, like, then I was like 8, so like 9, 10. I would just like find an artist that I really liked, like Adam and the Ants, and then I'd go back and see what influenced them and see what other bands were around at the same time and see what was going on. And I did like a lot of research. I get like compilation albums, and then you'd have like, you know, like old Peel sessions of Adam and the Ants, and then you'd have like advert stuff, and then you have Stiff Little Fingers, and the compilation albums would just like open up a whole other window of like bands. And I was a very antisocial kid. I was a very antisocial kid. I was very depressed as a kid, so I was by myself a lot, and I just listened to music.
Sort of sounds like me.
Yeah.
Can you tell? No. So what are some of your favorite bands?
Well, like now or then, like, you know, like growing up, like I had like bands that influenced me, or favorite bands now.
Well, how about let's start off with what bands influenced you, and then what kind of bands you like now?
I think well, influenced. I love the Avengers. I love Penelope Houston. I love like strong female vocalists like Nina Hagen. I was a big Susie and the Banshees fan. So you know, stuff like that. And I'm a big Ruts fan. I love the Ruts.
Yeah, let's take a listen to one of those Ruts songs. Let's take a listen to Jaw War. What do you think?
Okay.
The air was thick with the smell of oppression. The militant joined in angry procession. The tension tight with the strain of repression. Young blood boiling, hearts with aggression. Jawa, fighting, fighting, Jawa. Too close, frightening. The winds were blowing and stirring up reaction. The storm broke out. A militant action. Hot heads came in uniform. Thunder and lightning in a violent form. Jawa, fighting, fighting, Jawa. Too close, frightening. Jawa, fighting, fighting, Jawa. Too close, frightening. The air was thick with the smell of oppression. The militant joined in angry procession. The tension tight with the strain of repression. Young blood too close, frightening. A Jawa, a fighting, a Jawa, a too close, frightening. A Jawa. Clarence Baker, no troublemaker. Said the truncheon came down, knocked him to the ground. See the blood on the streets that day, the blood and the madness. Said the blood on the streets that day. Yeah. Fighting, a Jawa. Fighting, Jawa. Fighting, a Jawa. Fighting, a Jawa. A Jawa. A Jawa. Fighting, a Jawa. Fighting, Jawa. Fighting, a Jawa. A Jawa. A Jawa. A Jawa. A Jawa.
Hey, that was The Ruts with Jawar, and you're listening to the punk rock demonstration with me, Jack, and websites at punkrockdemo.com. Do you have a website?
I do. It is www.leiana, Leiana.com. And then I'm also, of course, on MySpace /Leiana.
Do people ever pronounce your name wrong, like Leiana or something like that?
Yeah, and I don't really care.
Yeah, because when I first looked at your name, I thought it was Leiana, and then when I heard your voicemail, it said Leiana, and I'm like, So,
Yeah, it's still even divided in my family. Like I have some Leianas, some, potato thing.
so is that your real name that you were born with?
Yeah. I spell it differently, but that's a whole other story.
That's interesting. Okay, so back to influences and what bands you like. What bands do you like today?
I'm a big Deftones fan today. Big Deftones fan. And I like Refused a lot. I wish they were still a band. And, there's a lot of bands I like today. Just thinking of them when asked. I don't know. I can't always think of them. But those are two.
Okay, so while we were talking and playing the Ruts, we had some drive-by people. Who were those people?
Those were they're friends of mine from Orange County. Eric and Andy, they are bass player and guitar and drummer. Eric is bass player, and he plays with me sometimes. He toured the UK with me, and tonight he's playing with McRad. And then Andy tonight is playing with McRad, and he toured the UK with McRad. And that's when I had this guy, Roy Mayorga, on drums. Roy is now with Stone Sour. Congratulations, Roy. But, they were stopping by to harass me. And actually, Andy used to play in a band called Jughead's Revenge, which was like a punk, kind of classic punk band.
That's pretty cool. So I'm guessing they're not playing with you after they play with McRad, right?
No, they're here for McRad purposes. Actually, last week Andy played with me on some shows. My drummer couldn't make it, and Chuck couldn't make it. So it's just we just have a pool of musicians who kind of can play with us if needed.
Oh yeah, I forgot to ask you, what are you doing here exactly tonight at the Viper Room?
Well, it is a VIP party, and it's for me, and I'm having McRad play with me. So it's kind of like a double bill, and. The original intent was a record release party, but the record isn't done yet. The artwork isn't done, so that's not happening. But it's just kind of like a VIP. I guess it's kind of like introduce me, like Leiana as a band, to kind of the West Coast and LA and LA press and that kind of thing. So that we'll have the show tonight, and then the album will come out, and these same people will get bombarded with the album, and it's all to propel the project forward.
So what's up with the album and the artwork not being done?
It was just last minute changes, and it couldn't get done on time. So it wasn't anyone's fault in particular.
Do you have a name for the album yet?
Yeah, it's called No Going Back.
Well, there's a start.
Yeah, no, the album is done. It was mastered last week at Sterling. And it's just the final touches on the artwork could not get to the manufacturer in time.
So is there any songs on there from this CD, the Page CD? Is this the Page CD or is this... Yeah. It is? Are there any songs from here on there?
No, they're all new songs. And then actually Chuck is writing the next album now. We continuously write music.
That's pretty cool. Always new ideas.
Yeah, it'd be cool if part of this project is... Chuck Treese's music, he writes all the music, and so it'd be cool to play maybe some of the stuff that he is coming from. He was in Bad Brains for a while. He played on the Quickness tour. So actually, in January, he and Doc and Daryl and Chino from the Deftones recorded a song for a benefit album that's coming out. So it'd be cool to just kind of go over he's kind of. Chuck is from the DC, the old hardcore DC scene, Minor Threat. He was in a band called Underdog. And so it'd be cool to if you could find a Bad Brains tune to play or something, because I think in my stuff and in McRad's stuff, you can kind of hear kind of like an East Coast influence. But then since I grew up on both coasts, I kind of have kind of like a Cali influence too. So it's kind of unusual, not weird, unusual.
Interesting.
Exactly. So that's just something to add, like a bit of like history behind the music, the new music that's being created. It's not just like two people who are just like, oh, I like music, let's write some songs,
Yeah, that's actually a great idea. Let's listen to some Bad Brains. Shall we listen to Eye Against Eye?
Yes.
That's one of my favorite Bad Brains songs. So I guess we'll just end it off today with the Eye Against Eye by the Bad Brains. And you've been listening to the Punk Rock Demonstration with me, Jack. And remember, you can send me an email at punkrockdemo@yahoo.com.
In a quest for the test, it's fulfilling the team, and everybody's always on it just to see himself. But the fucking amount that you just don't dare, never stand up and empty anyone else. So you tell me why, just after the line, trying to make me up confused about the USA. When the fuck in my mind, that you just don't hear, to comprehend or understand, I see what I say. Mother, whatever, go